Good evening from PLUGHITZ Studios in Largo, Florida. I'm Scott.
I'm Avram.
And we are here with episode 557 of F5 Live, Refreshing Technology, for Sunday, April 5th, 2020. This show is a proud part of the Tech Podcast Network. If it's tech, it's here. This week, Sprint is gone for good. Humvees are here to stay, and the Apple tax has been temporarily suspended. Wherever you are and however you're accessing our show, whether it be on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, or on any of our live stream platforms, livestream.com, Mixer, Twitch, Periscope, YouTube, or Facebook, on a podcatcher like Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, TuneIn, or a myriad of other options, on the radio, or on our website, PLUGHITZlive.com. Thank you for making us a part of your day. There are 3 ways that you can do that. The first is Sunday night at 9 p.m. Eastern. You can go to f5live.tv/join us, and there you can watch the show live and chat with us in the studio. We always love to hear what you have to say, so please do. The second is, if you're in the New York area, you can listen online. You can listen online no matter where you are. If you're in the New York area, you can listen on the radio to 88.1 WMLD Tuesday mornings at 10 a.m. Eastern. And of course, you can always subscribe by going to PLUGHITZlive.com/subscribe. There you'll see all of our shows, including F5 Live and the Piltch Point. PLUGHITZ Live presents a whole lot more. You can find all the ways that you can watch or listen. So, Avram, it's been an interesting week here in our studio. How have things been for you?
Well, I've been in this chair most of the week.
I've been in the sister to this chair.
A few times. I haven't really left. I mean, you know how it is. It's all over America, but especially here in the New York area. I have not left my house all week. Technically, the last time I really went somewhere was March 14th or something. So, so it's been a while. A couple of times my son and I walked around the block, but we're not doing that anymore too much because we keep seeing other people in the street. So we don't want that. So, because not everybody is doing such a good job of staying home. So, but it has given me more time to an extent to try different projects, although they're all work-related projects. But I spent some time mucking around with Raspberry Pi stuff this weekend. And one thing I figured out, and you'll see an article about this tomorrow on Tom's Hardware, is how to actually use your Raspberry Pi for COVID-19 research. Listeners will remember perhaps a few episodes ago we were talking about folding at home, which, by the way, Tom's Hardware, my day job, we're still doing a fold off through, I think, the 14th against an on-tech, and they're beating us. So please, if people are doing folding, join team 40051. Anyway, folding at home is something that a lot of people use on their PCs to help contribute to disease research. It involves, doing various calculations for protein folding, and it's a distributed computing project, meaning people all over the world dedicate their spare CPU cycles to it. But folding at home does not work on the Raspberry Pi, and it does not work on your phone or your tablet. It only works on PCs and maybe, I think, Macs. But this week, another project called Rosetta at Home decided that, well, I think they decided before this week, but this week, Rosetta at Home became available on Raspberry Pi and on Android devices. And Rosetta at Home is also doing medical research, again, trying to find treatments and cures for COVID-19. And what they're doing is they're going through an app called Boink, Boinc, and you can actually find Boink in the Google Play Store, and you can use it on your phone, although your phone must be plugged in and on Wi-Fi. And so basically you got to commit to not use your phone, I think, while it's going, or an old tablet or whatever, and you can have it do it in Android. Now, for those who may be running out to install Boink, Boinc right now, it's something from Berkeley, and it's an abbreviation, Boink. But please note that you need to select the Rosetta at Home project because it has a lot of different projects.
Okay.
There's one that learns about asteroids and things like that. But if you want to fight the coronavirus in particular, you want the Rosetta at Home project. And there's also a way to do it on Raspberry Pi, which you can read about on tomshardware.com starting Monday.
Very cool. That sounds like a fun project, and it's definitely in your wheelhouse.
Yeah, no doubt.
You've been living in the Raspberry Pi world for a while.
Yeah. Now I'm on to another project for another article, another Raspberry Pi project for another article that I hopefully will figure out this week. I have an idea, but I won't belabor our show with it. But I actually, if anybody wants to, any of our listeners have any ideas for what I can use for this, I want to create a Raspberry Pi powered hand washing timer. I want to create a device that you, almost like a stopwatch, that you put near your sink that goes for 20 seconds so that you washed your hands for 20 seconds.
Okay. Let me think on that.
Could you use a regular timer for that? Probably, yeah. But I would think about, could you make it so you don't have to touch it? Could it be audio activated?
That's what I was thinking.
Motion activated.
I was thinking if it identified the sound of water running. There's almost certainly a way to accomplish that.
Ooh. Anyway, I won't belabor the point, but if I issue the challenge to anyone in our audience, if you have any ideas for how I can make this happen, in particular casing or things like that, so it doesn't get wet, I'm all ears.
That sounds like fun. I'm gonna keep thinking on that. My projects have also been work related. If you are watching live, you will notice that the video is different than usual. And that is one of the projects care of a new tool that we're using called Restream that allows me to push the video out only once. In the past, we were actually pushing the video 6 times out of here to 6 different services. Now we're doing it just once, and even more importantly, it also gives me the ability to have a unified chat room. So in the past, if you tried to send us a message during the live show on Periscope, for example, I had no idea until after the show, because Periscope did not give us a good way to watch the chat, but I can now see Periscope up on the screen here in the studio. So Mixer, YouTube, Twitch, and Periscope are all good ways to get us now. So 4 of the 6 platforms are good, and we're going to see how this works. So far, it looks like it's going well, which is good, because during testing at one point, the stream turned off. So if we disappear, I apologize. We will be right back. But that's pretty cool. And boy, did I edit videos this week. I don't know. Something got me going this week, and I had a burst of ambition, and all kinds of stuff happened. So I even finally priced out the new computer for in here. So it's been it's been a good productive week for me too. But we've got a lot of stuff to talk about this week because a lot of interesting things happened. So let's get down to some news. This week's Nifty Gifties and F5 Live is proudly powered by the Microsoft Store. Whether you're looking for a new laptop, a tablet, an Xbox One, or a variety of other things like a phone or VR or AR headsets, things like that, you can get all of them through the Microsoft Store. And it's that time of year where there are all kinds of spring deals on Surface and Xbox consoles and a whole bunch more. To find all of those deals and to get your discount if you're a student or military, you can go to f5live.tv/Microsoft. Now, this is a topic we've been talking about for a long time, since before it was just the two of us. We've talked about the prospect of this, but this week it is official. Sprint is no more. The T-Mobile Sprint merger has completed. The new organization, which will be known as T-Mobile, or is currently being known in marketing as the new T-Mobile, will look a little different than the company that it was previously. Jean Legier, who is famously weird and was kind of the reason why T-Mobile came back from the brink of nothing, has stepped down as CEO. That was a plan. Upon the completion of the merger, John Legier's plan was to step down as CEO, and the chief operating officer was going to step into the role. That has happened. And so the number 3 and number 4 wireless carriers in the U.S. are now the number 3 carrier in the U.S. because even together, they are not as big as Verizon or AT&T, which was the problem, right? Neither one of them had the resources to compete in the way that AT&T and Verizon were. And I think anybody who's been watching the industry for the last couple of years had a sneaking suspicion that Sprint probably wasn't going to make it out of 2021 at the rate they were going, with their history of very bad decisions. Nextel. They've made some really dumb decisions over the years. Nextel, WiMAX, just bad moves. And it finally caught up to them, and I don't think they would have made it on their own anyway. So I guess the choices were merge them now or wait until the assets were up for auction. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I guess, Sprint has had a very bad reputation for a very long time. Also, that you didn't mention their bet on CDMA. Them using CDMA technology when everybody else was using, well, except Verizon. Verizon can get away with it, but Sprint can't.
I was going to say, in fairness, when they went down the CDMA path, it was 70% of the world was using CDMA. Over time, things changed. It was the 4G move that they decided to stay on the CDMA path at 4G when Verizon took the path down to LTE. That was the big difference, because LTE is GSM and WiMAX was CDMA. Everybody on the planet abandoned CDMA at 4G except for Sprint and one carrier in Japan.
Right. Yeah. So not a good move on their part. I mean, I never had an account with Sprint, but I kept hearing things about poor customer service and people having issues from different people. And I mean, it just, but at the same time, I do feel, first of all, this is probably going to, I don't know. I mean, I guess as long as they're number 3, T-Mobile has an incentive to continue to try and, outprice Verizon and AT&T. But I do understand people were concerned about anti-competitive stuff. I mean, I don't think T-Mobile was in a great competition with Sprint as much as they're in a competition with the other two, though, because as you say, Sprint was on death's door. I mean, they do have subscribers. Now, what happens to... So do we know what happens to all those accounts?
Yes.
And do we know what happens to all the Sprint stores?
Yes, absolutely. So it's actually kind of weird the way everything's going to go. If you are a Sprint postpaid customer, it will be probably very similar over the next 12 to 24 months to the way Singular bought AT&T Wireless. Things will continue to work, and at some point, the incentives to upgrade your phone will become greater and greater and greater. And in that upgrade, you will move off of the old network and onto the new one. So that will pull you out of the old billing system, and because of the weird purchase that was Singular and AT&T, we weren't allowed to say that they were a former AT&T customer. We had to call them a Blue customer. So Blue customers were upgraded into Singular and pulled out of the old billing system into the new one so that the Blue billing system could be retired. This will be the exact same process. If you are a Sprint prepaid customer, you may not know that you are. So there is a Sprint brand, there is a Virgin Mobile brand, there is a Boost Mobile brand. All of those are Sprint. If you're a Sprint prepaid customer, you are about to be a customer of the new number 4 U.S. wireless carrier, Dish Network. Those customers did not get purchased in the agreement. The only way that they could get the Department of Justice to agree to the merger was to sell all of the prepaid Sprint business to Dish Network, along with a ton of spectrum, a bunch in the 800 range, I think, all going to Dish Network, who will now be the number 4 U.S. carrier. Most of the Sprint stores went with that. So most of them will become, will either become Dish Network Wireless, whatever that ends up being called, because they haven't talked about it, or will be shuttered, because Sprint ended up buying a bunch of the old Radio Shack stores, so they have way too many locations. So some of them will be shuttered, some of them will become Dish Network Mobile, whatever that ends up being called. So that will be the process. Nobody knows what the Dish Network transition is going to look like, but the Sprint to T-Mobile transition is pretty normal. We saw it with AT&T to Singular. We saw it with Alltel to Verizon. This far from the first time the industry has done this. So that's a pretty known path.
Well, so what are they going to? What does T-Mobile get out of this besides the subscribers? Is it the spectrum, and how are they going to use the spectrum if they still have to support the old network?
So they only have to support the old network theoretically through the end of any existing contracts, which as of the first of the month, all new contracts are not with Sprint. They're with T-Mobile. So they don't have to. They've got 2 years that they have to honor the old network. They will probably honor it longer than that. But Sprint also has a ton of unused spectrum intended for the LTE rollout, for example, in some bands that are different from where T-Mobile owns spectrum that are in longer range bands, which, honest to God, I think that's what T-Mobile wanted, because they got screwed in the last spectrum auction. Dish Network and Sprint kind of owned that last auction, and T-Mobile got screwed in it. And so I think they went looking for a way to deal with it, and buying Sprint was a way to do it. But yeah, they also get all the subscribers.
Well, I hope the new company is, I think they're right to keep it as T-Mobile, because Sprint did not have a good reputation, and T-Mobile has done a good job.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm on T-Mobile now a couple of years.
Under John.
And
it's done a good job under John. Before John Legere, T-Mobile's reputation was somehow even worse than Sprint's. And then John Legere came around.
So this really
uncarrier, and here we were.
So why didn't they beg him to stay? Or, I mean, like, he's done a good job. Or isn't anyone concerned that it's going to go back, take a step back?
You know, in fairness, it's his chief operating officer who's taking over, so it could be more of the same. Although, you know, it's Steve Ballmer was Bill Gates' chief operating officer, and Tim Cook was Steve Jobs, and both of those companies went a very different direction. So, who knows?
Right. Yeah. Well, I hope they keep it going, because they've been doing a good job bringing competition to the other two, and really innovating.
Yeah. You know, the last, and it to put into perspective how important a CEO is, we can just look at the wireless industry. Before John Legere, T-Mobile was literally the butt of the joke in the industry. They were number 4, and they were number 4 by a margin. It was huge behind Sprint. Under John Legere and his bizarre way of getting attention for himself and therefore the company, showing up in a T-Mobile branded T-shirt uninvited to an AT&T party at CES, and just a weird guy. He changed the whole atmosphere at the company. People loved it. But he also put focus on the things that mattered, right? He took the network from being a joke to being stable. When 4G came out, there was all this stuff about them lying about 4G. And then he came in and went, oh, no, let's put it in for real and let's stop screwing around. And then on the other hand, you look at Sprint, Dan Hesse, under Dan, the company was growing and thriving. And as soon as he left, here we are. Now, granted, he was still dealing with the Nextel thing. But, Sprint was doing well under Dan, and when he left, things went awry, but they didn't put one of his people in to replace him. So, it's a little different. But, the CEO can have a huge impact on the culture and the kind of beliefs of the company, and certainly the direction. So, with new management comes new ideas. Hopefully, they will continue down the path they've been on, like you said, because the path they've been on took them from being the number 4 joke to buying what was the number 3 company at the time, kind of the originator of wireless, the first digital network in the world. So, it's leadership's important. We'll see what happens. I am really interested in seeing what happens with Dish Network, though, as a company with no wireless network buying into the business, plus all the spectrum that they've bought. They might become a force. So it'll be interesting to see what they're up to as well, because, like I said, nobody knows what their intentions are, and that's always a weird place to be. So my guess is we will not have to wait long, because you don't spend as much money on a company as they did and sit on it. So we will probably know soon. This week's Piltch Point with Avram Piltch is proudly powered by PureVPN. When you're online, you want to keep some of your behavior private, either from your ISP, from Facebook and Google particularly. And a great way to do that is with a VPN like PureVPN. You can obfuscate your usage, you can report a different location, so you can continue to watch your Hulu while you're out on the road, or get your local news while you're traveling. And right now, there's a 31-day free trial, so you get a full month to try it out to make sure it's for you. And you can get all of that information by going to piltchpoint.live/purevpn. All right, Avram, what have you got for us this week?
So, I don't have to tell anybody in our audience that we are living in unprecedented times, where there's lots of issues in the world. and perhaps some of them, a lot of them, are bigger than where can I get my tech. But at the same time, uh, people need things, right?
Sure.
And right now, if you want to order tech gadgets from gadgets, computers, computer parts, things you might actually need to do work, maybe even to do something that's essential, considered essential work, things that are really important, might have a problem getting it delivered from Amazon, and you might have a problem getting it delivered, and there you may have problems also at Best Buy or Walmart in terms of shopping online. There's just a lot of delays, right? A lot of things out of stock and delayed, and Amazon has said very specifically, this is not like just an observation. They've said and I think Walmart has said this also, like we're prioritizing essentials. And I think by essentials, they mean, food, medicine, diapers, paper towels, things like that. Uh, so it is, so if you order stuff on Amazon, you may not be seeing it for a while if it's tech stuff. Um, a couple of weeks ago, I decided, hey, one of the things I want to do during this extended work from home period is I want to do, and I've been planning to do this for a while, was I wanted to do a roundup of Raspberry Pi cases. And so we ordered 15 cases, which, they have a lot of from Amazon. That was 2 weeks ago. So far, one case has arrived.
Oof.
So, uh, so, what do you do now if you need tech? Well, Tom's Hardware, we went out and we talked to some vendors, to some retailers, and it seems that you can get stuff shipped overnight. Just look at where you're shopping. So, Newegg, for example, Newegg is still shipping stuff within a day or two. They are pretty much fully stocked. They have all the components. They have full systems. They have peripherals, and they're not having problems with shipping. We actually talked to their CEO, and he said that they've been very careful about managing their inventory, uh, to to make sure that they were getting things in and they have a back stock, and they're in good shape. Um, Similarly, if you want to buy a whole PC, we talked to a couple of smaller PC vendors, and they told us they're shipping things in pre-made stuff in 1 to 2 days, and things that are like custom made, you know, often in as little as a week. So we talked to iBuyPower, and we talked to Main Gear. Both of those are kind of smaller PC vendors that make and build their own stuff, and they said not they are able to. They have plenty of stock, and they're able to, and they're turning around orders very quickly. So I'm sure they're not the ones that I just mentioned. Newegg, iBuyPower, and Main Gear are not the only ones. It so it's really a matter of where are you shopping online for your tech stuff, and what is their priority right now. Is there If they're busy with something else, then your tech supplies may not come for a while. um, so now Newegg, amongst people who build PCs and do upgrades, is you know has for a long time been one of the top sites, a place people love to shop. So that's definitely always a good choice. Although for me, buying Raspberry Pi stuff, they don't seem like they're very strong in that area. So so if I want to go buy that kind of stuff, I have to see where else. Uh, one place that sells a lot of Raspberry Pi and Arduino and Maker stuff, Adafruit, it has said like they are not right now. They've converted Adafruit's a very interesting company. If you haven't heard of them, they are a manufacturer and they also sell their own stuff. A manufacturer and seller of like all kinds of small DIY electronic kits. They make lots of different boards. They make lots of Raspberry Pi accessories, Arduino accessories, all kinds of stuff.
LED
Their
pixels.
website, adafruit.com, LED pixels, all kinds of cool stuff. And I always wanted to, maybe one day I'll be able to go down there and interview the people or something, because they're actually have their factory in New York City.
Oh, wow.
They are manufacturing circuit boards in New York City. That is downtown New York City. That's where their office is located. That is their factory. But apparently they have taken up the cause of now they're making PPE there. So they're not fulfilling. They said their priority is not fulfilling tech orders. It's doing PPE like masks and shields for doctors and first responders, and that's what they've switched to doing for the foreseeable future. So like really good on them. But if you want to buy something from them, you probably should look elsewhere. So that's overall, I definitely encourage people to check out our article on this, how to buy PCs and parts that ship right now on tomshardware.com. Oh yes, apparently B&H Photo is another one that is shipping things pretty rapidly.
I was going to ask about that one.
Yes, it's another one that's shipping things pretty rapidly. So those are, keep an eye out. Now here in the East, we have Micro Center, which for those around the country who are not familiar with Micro Center, it's an in-person store that is really excellent for buying computer parts, buying maker parts like Raspberry Pi stuff, buying all kinds of like high-tech stuff. It's like what CompUSA, it's better than CompUSA used to be. CompUSA was like that, but not, but was overpriced and didn't always have a good selection. This place is everything that CompUSA should have been. But there's only, and some of their stores are still open, although I wouldn't, recommend getting out of your house unless you really need to. So what they are doing is they've got their website, but I look there and a lot of the things say 5 to 7 days. Now maybe that's not terrible, 5 to 7 days compared to Amazon, which can say we don't even know when we're shipping. But definitely something to keep in mind is, what is the shipping promise? Where's your stuff coming from? Even on Newegg, you got to look and see things from third-party sellers can take a lot longer. Depending on the third-party seller. Like one thing I saw on Newegg that was very interesting is that they apparently have masks for sale. Like they're not sold out. Which, that's not what they're known for. They're known for being an electronic place, but they have a lot of non-electronic stuff that people put on, particularly third-party vendors. And they have masks, and the masks, though, are shipping directly from China. So they probably won't be coming for a while. So I guess you have to look at, what is the shipping estimate on what it is, the thing that you want to buy. But overall, definitely those are some places to look when you need some electronics now, which a lot of us do.
True. I started putting my parts list together for the studio, and the two places that came up as the parts suppliers were Newegg and B&H. So it's good to know that if I were to to bite the bullet right now and use some of my downtime to do another upgrade in here, that I would likely have that ability.
Yeah, I mean, the B&H one, I'm only hearing comments, whereas Newegg, we actually, interviewed them, and they responded and said that they're in good shape for shipping. So obviously we're going by their word. We haven't, done extensive testing of ordering things every day to see if they still come, but if they're saying that it's going to come, that's definitely a lot better than other sites like Amazon telling you it's probably not going to come.
Right. Yeah, for sure. B&H's website says right in a banner right across the top that they're still doing their regular free fast delivery and in-store pickup, except in New York City, obviously. They can't do in-store pickup there.
Isn't that the only place their store is?
No, I think they actually have like 3 or 4 locations now. They definitely used to only have the New York City location, but this definitely suggests that there's more than one. So
okay. Well, I wouldn't like Micro Center is doing in-store pickup or like even curbside pickup, but I don't want to go out of my house. I don't even want that right now. So obviously best for everybody to have things delivered when you can.
Yeah, for sure. I'm totally with you. I mean, I definitely want to go out of my house, but I don't. Yes. I would like to see a visual that is not the office, the studio, or my apartment. But, it is what it is. I'd rather not be. I certainly don't want to go to a retail store, I guess is the point. So.
Yep, definitely not.
Well, Avram, I appreciate this. As somebody who has been looking at and purchasing parts for my renovated office for the new work I'm doing, getting those parts was a little challenging. I had to look at different retailers, and so it's good to remind people that we all know it's weird out there, but it's a little weirder than we think. And even something as simple as, trying to buy a webcam is basically impossible. And buying a video card could be difficult if you go to the wrong place. So definitely thank you for that. And obviously we will talk. I look forward to whatever we talk about next, and there's never any telling what it might be. This week's Extra Life on F5 Live is proudly powered by Razer. All the accessories you need to up your game on both PC and console are available from Razer. Whether you're looking for a great keyboard and mouse for your gaming rig or even your office, or you're looking for a controller for your PC or console, Razer has all of that, and they've got some great deals right now. Full system, the Razer Blade 15 Mercury Edition is $400 off. And leading back into our last topic, Razer is shipping products now. So that's an important part of the agreement. So to find out all about the products that they offer and to see the deals that they've got going on right now, you can go to f5live.tv/Razer. See, it's an important part, right? I mean, having a deal on something doesn't matter if they're not shipping it. So,
exactly.
So we haven't talked about this topic before, but it's been on my radar. It's an interesting one. A couple of years ago, there was a lawsuit filed by AM General, the car company, against Activision, which is an odd lawsuit. on the surface. The lawsuit was about Activision's use of Humvees in Call of Duty titles. Obviously, the Humvee is kind of synonymous with certain eras of war, right? And Call of Duty has produced titles in those eras. And so the inclusion of the Humvee made sense for them because, well, the games are, to an extent, about realism. Obviously, it's a video game, so there's a level of artistic license. But, you know, if the idea is to recreate, you know, London in World War II, you've got to include the buildings and all the things that would have been there. And so Call of Duty has regularly included Humvees in their games. AMG believed that was a violation of their copyright, trademark, filed suit. It made it to a federal court this week. It has gone through other levels of court cases in the past, but until you get to a federal court, the ruling isn't all that important. And so a federal judge this week ruled that Activision had complete right to include the Humvee in their games, and cited a case from 1989 which allows for an artist to include a copyrighted or trademarked piece of content in their artwork if it is relevant to the piece. And so if you're making a video game about war, the inclusion of a Humvee was part of that era and therefore is viable to be used in the game. AMG believed that that it fell more under the I don't know, racing games where, you know, a company will go out and get licensing to be able to use Ferraris and stuff like that. But, you know, the inclusion of a real car in a street racing game isn't essential or germane to the concept. But in this case it is. And the judge even said, if realism is an artistic goal, then the presence in modern warfare games of vehicles employed by actual militaries undoubtedly furthers that goal. So Humvees are staying in Call of Duty.
Well, you know, I think this is good. One thing I have to admit, I haven't played a Call of Duty I haven't, you know, seen the Humvees in Call of Duty. Do they actually have Humvee branding on them, or do they just look like Humvees?
They just look like, which was part of the thing. They didn't try to use the logos. They didn't try and use branding. They just used very accurate representations of the vehicles.
I mean, that's history, right?
Right.
I mean, that's a piece of history. If you had to get permission for everything that every artist ever did, mm-hmm. we would, you know, that was similar to something in real life, particularly when something's supposed to be historically accurate. It would be a field day for lawyers like this is. Right. I mean, it's ridiculous. I'm glad that the court ruled in Activision's favor, which is
a sentence you don't hear very often.
Yes, I'm glad the court ruled in Activision's favor. Right, because, you know, it's the kind of thing that if it was or is later upheld, has kind of chilling effect on free speech, right? I mean, video games are a form of speech, just like movies and books and newspaper articles and social media posts and everything else. So, like, if you are representing the military and they have Humvee vehicles, then, you know, then that's what it is. Now, right. What I find interesting is I don't know what would happen if this was a racing game and that was one of the cars you could choose. Does that, would that make it different?
Almost certainly, because the judgment is twofold. There's 6 prongs for the test, but 2 in particular that matter. The first one is based on this 1989 case that says that the inclusion of the protected piece must be essential to or germane to the piece. So in that case, it falls apart because having you're not in a video game, a racing game, you're not actually dealing with the aerodynamics of the vehicle. There hasn't been a game that's gotten quite that detailed. So the design of the body isn't germane to the piece. And the second prong that matters, both of which were failed on this one, by the way. The second piece that matters is that the inclusion of the protected piece does not create a significant, I can't remember the exact wording, doesn't create a significant confusion about the relationship between the piece and the protected works holder. So the inclusion of a Ferrari in a racing game would suggest a relationship between Ferrari and said racing game. But in this case, it's actually kind of funny. AMG did their own consumer study and determined that only 16% of people thought that AMG may have had a relationship with Call of Duty for the inclusion of the Humvee. And that was not a significant confusion because May made it and 16% wasn't significant. So, but having, especially with history on our side, and knowing that a racing game licenses vehicles, even if it wasn't required, today a gamer would assume a relationship between the pieces. I would. Only because of tradition, only because of knowing that, some of the biggest announcements that Major Nelson has ever made for Xbox has been the licensing of new cars for Gran Turismo games. You know what I mean? Gran Turismo? The other one. Doesn't matter. Whichever one's on the Xbox. I'm not a racing game person. I'm going to get crap for this, and I know. And I don't care. I don't know which one's
I think Gran Turismo is PlayStation.
See, that's what I thought. It's the other one then.
PlayStation.
Whatever. See, I don't know. But I do know that Major Nelson has made some big announcements and put a lot of weight behind, hey, this car is coming to whatever the Xbox's game is. Sorry, guys. I know Microsoft's a sponsor. I have no idea what their game is. But, they've made big deals about it in the past, and therefore today, even I, as not a racing game fan, even I would assume a relationship. Forza. Yep. Yep. Forza. Even I would assume a relationship. So it wouldn't win on either of those. So, but yeah, like you said, I'm glad that it went Activision's way, which again, not something you say often, because it's important not just for video games, but for, artistic expression as a whole, because can you imagine Warhol getting permission to use the Campbell soup cans? This week's news from the tubes and F5 Live is proudly powered by Riff Tracks. Make fun of movies, or let these guys do it for you. Mike Nelson, Bill Corbett, and Kevin Murphy, the former stars of Mystery Science Theater 3000, are back and doing what they do best, creating commentaries for Hollywood blockbusters. Oh, they're messing me up. For Hollywood blockbusters and B-movie oddities like Star Raiders. I apologize. Star Wars Rise of Skywalker was the one that they came up with, which is unusual. The way it works is for a couple of bucks, you download the MP3, play it along with your DVD, Netflix, Amazon, wherever you happen to have the movie, and laugh. They also do live events. Those live events oftentimes make it onto the site as purchasable content as well. For example, one of my all-time favorite live events, if you look at my Instagram, you'll probably still see the photo. It is Sharknado. It was one of the funniest things I've ever seen. It is on sale right now for $2 off. So to get that deal and to find all of the short films, feature films, and live events, you can go to f5live.tv/rifftracks with an X. See, Ninja Warlord would have been another great B movie, but they had to give me Star Wars. Doesn't matter. So in addition to watching things on TV, streaming services, DVD, whatever, like I've been watching a lot of riff tracks, way more than I should. A lot of people are also doing online conferences, either for work or for fun. I know there's on Friday, I saw a number of my friends from different friend groups doing virtual cocktail hours. Even the new company I'm working with has a virtual cocktail hour at the end of Fridays, and it's becoming more popular. And while there are lots of platforms on which you can do this, one of the ones that has gained steam for don't know why is a platform called Zoom. My guess is 6 weeks ago you'd probably never heard of it unless you were working in a disconnected office or in the podcasting space. You'd probably never encountered Zoom before, and today it is a household name, but not necessarily for the reason that they're hoping. Part of the reason why people know their brand is because they've been having a lot of trouble, not just this week, but for an extended period of time. But let's deal with this week. Two particular problems have arisen. The first is mostly your fault. The people who are using it have not quite paid attention to the way the system works or the way the system looks, and have created problems for themselves by posting screenshots of their group to social media. By doing that, unless you crop it correctly, you are exposing your conference ID. As soon as you expose your conference ID, I can probably join. And when you expose that to people on Twitter in particular, the people who join your conferences are not there for the reason that you are. We have seen even heads of state in other countries have posted photos including their conference IDs, and people have joined, have gotten into the chat rooms, posted inappropriate content, comments, pictures, and created havoc. So, if you're using Zoom, oh my God, stop posting conference IDs. Look at your photo. It's in the title bar. It is also, I think, in the bottom right corner, depending on the screen layout you've got. Do not post a screenshot or a photo that has your conference ID in it, or people will join and they will mess up your conference. But, more importantly...
Could you not make it invite only?
You can, but nobody seemingly does that, including heads of state. I can't remember which country it was, but a prime...
That's their fault.
Right, and that's why I say the first problem is totally yours. You're responsible for it yourself, but it's an aspect of the system that allows you to easily create these open-ended and not exactly make it closed-ended meetings, because they're way easier to just get a link and send to the people in your group than it is to try and invite people to the app. I understand it. I've used Zoom. I hate Zoom, but I've used it, and I totally understand how much easier it is to create an open-ended one, grab the URL, and email it to your people than it is to try and invite people through it. Yeah, you can create an event, in Teams or Slack or email or whatever and send it out to everybody. I get it. Don't do it. And then don't send the conference ID, no matter what you do. But the more important part of this was, it wasn't just inappropriate text and photos that were being added. It was certain links were being put into the Zoom chat that allowed the people who posted them through some clever malicious content to be able to get the Windows credentials for the account that was currently logged in. So, drive-by Zoom bombing. Here's an ID. Get into the chat room, post the link. Oh, now I have your Windows credentials. If it's a business account, somebody like a head of state, all of a sudden you might have greater access to a network than you're supposed to have by getting the current credentials for the computer, and things get wonky. Now, Zoom has put out a patch to fix this problem. Theoretically, it doesn't work anymore. Are there other issues? Who knows? Because this is not the first big vulnerability that Zoom has exposed. Last year, we didn't talk about it on the show, but it was on my short list for a topic one week. Zoom had a glitch in which if I could create a Zoom conference, force a user account into it, turn on their webcam, and the user never got a notification about the conference or the webcam being turned on. Talk about a dangerous situation. So, they've had major security and privacy issues before, which is the reason why I don't allow it on any of my computers. Personally, because I don't in fairness, I don't allow most software in my computers. People who know me know that I don't trust anybody, and anybody who's been a fan of the show for a long time probably has figured that out too. Hence 2019 being our year of security, right? It's turning into 2022, but whatever. So I guess the thing to keep in mind is, with Zoom or with anything else, be careful. There are always going to be vulnerabilities. It doesn't matter who it is. Everybody has vulnerabilities. The statistic is old, but it used to be the only organization you could trust more than NASA in bugs per line of code was Microsoft. That's obviously not the case anymore. So nobody can be trusted. There's going to be problems. So the less attack surface you create, the better. So if you're using Zoom, make it invite only. Don't post photos of your conference ID anywhere, let alone to a public social media. If you have a removable webcam, if you're one of the lucky ones that has a removable webcam, if you're not using it, maybe disconnect it. If you have software that you don't know, just simple things like that. Keep yourself protected. What do you think, Avram? I know you guys have disconnected workforce too, right?
Yes. So we, before our company was bought, there was a time period when Piltch, our previous parent company, used Zoom. And I did not like Zoom. I'm trying to remember why I didn't like it. It just seemed like a pain in the butt.
I had it take a computer down. I had to reformat and reinstall a computer one time because of it.
It was like yet another service that wasn't necessary. Yeah. Before that, we used something called PLUGHITZ, which I don't know what became of that. I found that equally annoying. But right now, we use Google Meet, and I like Google Meet. So what I don't understand is why Zoom has become the software of choice for this quarantine period, not something else like Google Meet. Google Meet is also free. Google Meet is tied to your Google account, which
Google Meet, Slack,
what's wrong
Teams,
with Google Meet?
Facebook Messenger, all have the exact same interface. for the actual conference as Zoom does, and doesn't require another piece of software, doesn't require another account for another thing, because you might already have Slack, you might already have Teams, you probably already have Skype, you almost certainly already have Facebook.
You almost certainly already have a Google.
Right.
You almost certainly already have a Google account.
Right. So,
right?
I have no idea where Zoom came from all of a sudden.
I mean, I like Google Meet. Now, I overwhelmed it I had an issue with it getting a little bit overwhelmed the other day when I was in a conference with like 25 people and I kept trying to present my screen and like switching back and forth. But that could have been my internet connection at the moment or whatever. Mm-hmm. It's Google. It's tied to your stuff, but it also is similarly easy to share with people. I can understand, like, okay, let's say you want to have, I don't know what you're talking about, like a cocktail hour or something, mm-hmm. and not everybody is on the same system, which is one of the reasons that I'm not a huge fan of Microsoft Teams, because Microsoft Teams is very oriented toward you have to be in the same domain. You have to, like, I think it's very difficult to get people onto a Teams conference unless they're part of you, unless they have an email account within your company.
The family Teams, the new Microsoft Family Teams, it doesn't work that way. But yes, you're absolutely right.
Okay.
If it was a month ago, that restriction was 100% an annoyance, for sure.
Yeah. So, like in our company, we work with a lot of freelancers who don't have email addresses from our company, and mm-hmm. that's just business stuff. And you're talking also about people using it for social things. I mean, I think Google Meet is good. Mm-hmm. I recommend Google Meet. It's for this purpose.
It's one of again, people who have been longtime fans know kind of my feelings on Google. It's one of the few Google products that I will use on a regular basis if I have to.
Right. So I don't know why Zoom has caught on. I really don't.
I know why it caught on in the podcasting.
Perhaps someone can explain to me.
I know why it caught on in the podcasting and conference call space. It's nice that it records all the audio channels individually. Okay, I'm good with that. I understand. From a podcasting perspective, being able to edit your audio and my audio separately. Of course, I can do that anyway with the hardware we have here. But, if you and I were just doing this on a super low budget, something like Zoom that records the audio separately, okay, I got it. I can send a link to a random interviewee that they can click in. Granted, we could do that with this too, but it's not talking on a $0 budget or something. All that's kind of nice, but from a friend's perspective, doesn't make a bit of sense to me why it caught on all of a sudden. But we've had this how many times have we had this conversation where some weird platform that doesn't do anything special comes up out of nowhere and becomes really popular for no reason? We've done this so many times over the last couple of years that even the conversation's not all that special anymore. It's the same thing with instant
messengers.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with instant messengers, right? Like, no one can really explain why the ascendants or descendants of different instant messengers, like why, like I hasten to say this, I've been around using instant messengers for so long that the first one I used was ICQ, mm-hmm. which people probably have forgotten. But ICQ was displaced. I remember because when I worked at About.com, first we were all on ICQ. Then we were all on AOL Instant Messenger. Then we were all on, I think there was a while we were all on MSN Messenger. And then we were all, and then eventually things moved to Google Chat, whatever it was called at the time.
Google Talk.
And Google Talk, eventually, but like, and there was a time I was on Yahoo Messenger. Uh-huh. Like, I have no idea. And to be honest, none of these things is appreciably better than ICQ was back when I was using it 20 years ago.
Absolutely. 100%. In fact, none of the messengers that exist today have away messages like we had on ICQ and AOL and MSN and Yahoo. We've actually lost features.
I guess they assume you're not going to be away. You're never away. You have your phone now. You're always reachable. You can't say you're away.
I had AOL Instant Messenger on my Samsung 8500 19 years ago. Can't believe that's the case. So I was technically never away either. But away messages were part of the fun. They're what gave birth.
Right.
They're what gave birth to things like MySpace and Facebook and Twitter was AOL away messages. Because that's all Twitter is an aim away message.
There you go. There's nothing new under the sun.
True. And I keep telling people that the only thing that separates Zoom from its competitors is their seeming lack of interest in protecting their customers. This week's DRM not included in F5 Live is probably powered by Amazon Prime. In addition to your free shipping on right now on essential items, you have a lot of things that can help with being home. You've got free music with Amazon Prime Music. Several million tracks you can stream for free. You've got Amazon Prime Video, which has TV and movies and documentaries available as part of your subscription. You've also got my favorite, which is Twitch Prime, which gives you free video games every month. It gives you one free Twitch subscription that you can use to help out the content creator of your choice. You can use it to subscribe to PLUGHITZ Live or somebody else. And there's a whole lot more that comes with your subscription. We've got a list of some of our favorites, links to them, and if you're not a subscriber, we have a 30-day free trial, so you can find out if it's for you, and all of that is available by going to f5live.tv/prime. So we've talked before about the Apple tax. If you're not familiar with the Apple tax, it is the process that Apple uses, the rules that they use that force subscriptions within the Apple Store to be made through the Apple Store. So if you're Netflix and you sign up for Netflix through the app on iOS or Mac OS, the requirement would be that you must process that transaction through the Apple Store. Theoretically, a nice feature, one easy way. You don't have to deal with billing or any of that. Apple takes care of it all for you, but they also take a 30% cut, which if you're a startup, if you're a company with kind of razor thin margins like Netflix, who spends more money on content that they bring in right now in an attempt to get more subscribers, a 30% cut off the revenue, not even off the profit, off the top, is a huge cut. And we've seen Netflix got rid of their in-app sign-up like 2 years ago. Google recently removed it from YouTube TV. You cannot sign up for YouTube TV through your Apple device anymore. You have to do it through the website, and they canceled all the active subscriptions. Actually, as of last week, I think, which was a big move, but that 30% cut hurts. And apparently it has started to hurt Apple as well. And so right now, as the demand for streaming services is higher than possibly it's ever been before, and Apple is looking to get in on that, they are making it free. They're removing that 30% cut for premium streaming services. So Netflix, Amazon, YouTube, things like that, so that they don't have to pay that 30% cut off the top for now. Obviously, their hope is that people will keep their subscriptions past this suspension time, and they'll start getting the 30% cut in the future, which seems like such a strange move, because if a company like Netflix or Google has moved away from in-app signups to avoid the 30%, they have to know what's going on here as much as I do, right, Avram?
Yeah, why are they going to come? I don't think they're going to turn it back on, right? And why would they?
The 30% cut? Oh, yeah.
It seems like a bad strategy.
This is a temporary...
No. I mean, I don't think Netflix is going to turn back on subscribe subscription through the App Store, because then they're going to just be signing up people who eventually Apple's going to take the 30% cut. So I don't know who Apple's going to convince with this.
Right. That was my thought. I was like, when I read this, my initial thought was, who is their target here? Because obviously they would love to have Netflix and YouTube money back, because losing those two was a big hit. But there's no way they're coming back, because they know the plan. Are they going after startups? Are they going after Quibi? Like, who is their target demo with this weird move? I can't imagine anybody who knows anything, really, about anything, to fall for this. It's so bizarre to me.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I wonder if Apple's really that interested in making sure that they take their cut. Are they just worried about a lawsuit or something if they decided that they would kick Netflix out of the store, or kick YouTube? Well, I guess kicking YouTube would be really bad, but kicking YouTube Premium in some way out of the store.
The thing is, so long as they don't allow subscriptions to be signed up for in the app, they're not in violation of anything. It's what Netflix did years ago. You have to go to the website to sign up for an account. Okay. In fact, it's what Amazon. I have not looked into how this works or how long this may be successful for, but Amazon Prime Video until this week. Oh, that's interesting. Let me process that for a second while I keep talking. Until this week, Amazon Prime Video didn't allow you to make purchases or rentals of movies in their iOS app. You had to go to the website to do it. And this week, they've made it so you can. I wonder if they're taking advantage of this loophole for short-term revenues, and then after the thing goes away, it'll go back. Huh.
No, that makes sense.
I feel like I'm going to have to try it. I feel like I'm going to have to try and buy or rent something through the app and see if it pulls up the Apple Pay, the App Store stuff.
Interesting.
I hadn't considered
even
that
more
these
reason for people to use Android.
I hadn't considered that these two stories might be related until literally right this second. Huh. All right. Well, I'm going to give that a shot after the show and see what happens, because that's actually really interesting that it might be targeted at companies who aren't necessarily doing subscription, but might be doing rental or purchases like Amazon Prime Video, and so they may have activated that feature for right now because it doesn't cost anything for them.
What does it do for Apple though? What does that do for Apple? I mean, like, they're not. If they're just going to turn it off again, then Apple's not going to get their 30% cut anytime. So they're giving the users a slight convenience for a little while.
Right.
But it's not really much of a convenience because you could just go to the website and do it there. Right. So I don't think that's a big deal.
I don't know. It's all very strange. I don't know how to I don't know how to wrap my head around it either. So I don't know. I guess it's one of those weird things that we'll probably never understand. Well, that is our show. Thank you to those of you who joined us live. We always appreciate it. The chat rooms were a little quiet tonight, but we did have live viewers, so we always appreciate that. Thank you. If you didn't join us live and would like to in the future, Sunday night at 9 p.m. Eastern, you can go to f5live.tv/join us, or you can search for PLUGHITZ Live on your favorite streaming service: Facebook, YouTube, Mixer, Twitch, Periscope, and livestream.com. And with this new service that we're using, we're going to look at showing up on some other platforms as well. And you can join us on Sunday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern. If you aren't able to join us live and would like to subscribe, you can do that on YouTube, on Facebook, or any of the podcatchers, Apple or Google, Spotify, TuneIn. And if there's a place that you would like us to be, especially with this new live stream system, if there's a place you'd like us to be and we currently are not, let us know, and we'll look into what it would take to make that happen. And I guess with that, on behalf of the staff that's not here, I'm Scott.
I'm Avram.
And we'll see you guys back next time. Ciao.